Welcome to the Tower Yoga Podcast, where we dive deep into the heart of yoga and community. Come along with us as we explore the transformative power of yoga, share insights, and inspire one another on this journey of life. I'm Kelly Williams, and I'm your host and the co-founder of Tower Yoga. Thank you for joining our yoga community. Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back in for another episode. Today, I have an interview for you all with what I like to call a permanent fixture at the studio. Her name is Miss Jasmin Kloos, and she is our teacher spotlight currently for this month. You must have gotten that email if you're signed up for the newsletters and learned a little bit more about her. But just for anyone who isn't familiar with who you are, Jasmin, can you just introduce yourself and give us a little bit of your background and maybe even your personal history with the practice of yoga?
Sure. Well, thank you, Kelly, first of all, for having me on here. It's such an honor and such an exciting thing to do this with you. So I've been here at Tower Yoga since, as I like to say, since day one. I remember the very first weekend that you opened for classes, and I came here on the recommendation of two of my close yoga friends, and they basically told me about this wonderful place that was opening that I just really had to check out. And ever since then, I have been here, as you know. It's been a big part of my life. I'm the yogi in the corner, so it has changed my life. I can absolutely tell you that this last 6 years has just increased my capacity for what I thought I could have yoga be a part of in my life. When I started my practice 2 years before coming here, I was very much a once a week yoga class taker. And that is what I had the finances and the time and really what I thought I had the capacity for. And then coming here and just seeing all the classes that were being offered and the wealth of variety, I had this huge hunger. I have to be a part of this. I cannot miss out on anything. I had a huge fear of missing out on anything. So I signed up for classes, changed my daily routine completely, and started to make this a really big part of my life. And it's not just the physical practice, but it's the people that I've gotten to know here, the instructors, the whole community has just been absolutely wonderful.
I love that. And I do remember, like, literally, you have been with us since day one. And I remember
Yes.
you coming in, and I remember your like long braid and
Oh, yeah.
everything. And
That was before hot yoga. I realized pretty quick I had to put that hair up.
yes, yes. I was like, I think that was
Yeah.
like the first and last time I ever saw that long braid out at yoga. But let's get
Yep.
into it with the early days of Tower
Yes.
Yoga. So if we do start at the beginning, you've been here since day one. You were what we call
Yeah.
a founding member. So you joined membership like within that first week, and you have
Yes.
kept that all the way through now.
Mhm.
And um, can you tell us a little bit about some of like the challenges? Like you said you were really excited and you had to be a part of it, but were there any like challenges with that? I mean, changing your whole daily routine, like you said, and
Mhm.
yeah. What was that? What were those things?
Yeah. Well, like I said, like pretty quickly after coming here, you had a couple free classes over that weekend. And then I had a free week of classes. And so I think it was right around in there that I realized I have to get a membership. I have to be a part of this place. I cannot miss out on being here because I'm so hungry to learn. And this is a studio that I feel has such a wide variety of classes. And I just want to learn as much as I can. So told Jameson I needed to sign up for that membership, and I think I was the first one that he actually signed up for because I remember us like figuring it out together, kind of the payments and all that. And yeah, so I figured out quickly. I teach ballet, so that's like the second half of my day. So I come here in the mornings, and the schedule has changed over the years, and instructors have changed, but the content has always been just wonderful. such a worthwhile part of the day. It gets me ready physically for my practice later of teaching, but also just calms down anxiety and worries about other things. It's you feel the difference when you're not here versus when you are here. So
Mm.
I can definitely tell over the years that it's made a big difference in my life.
Yeah, yeah, and I've witnessed that. It's been so beautiful.
As far as like early days here at the studio, like, I mean, obviously you guys have just like ridden the waves of change and you have done such an amazing job of reading people's needs and like changing with the flow of things. I've seen like just the names of classes change over the years, little tweaks to the times, just little things like that. But I think you really have your finger like on the pulse of what people are looking for, and that ability to change ultimately makes you stronger.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you. We do
Yeah.
try. It's not perfect, of course, and we do like make mistakes and change our mind, and we're like, we're going back. Oops, sorry. So we've definitely done things where we're like, that didn't work, but it's all part of it. And
But it's not, you're not rigid.
right.
And I appreciate that. It's fun to see changes to the schedule. I like it. I'm excited. Like when there's a change, I'm like, oh, what can I do now?
Yeah.
So I think it's really good.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah. Let's we'll kind of we're still in the early days, but I want to take it to
Yeah.
like 2019 because we opened in 2018. And in 2019, we were just like a year in, and we decided to do our first international yoga retreat in Peru, a place that James and I had fallen in love with, just the two of us. We went backpacking there. We hung out. We totally kind of like dirt bag styled it, where we were like, just stretching our dollars like as much as we could. It wasn't really
Mhm.
like a nice, luxurious trip or anything like that, but it was really impactful and powerful, just the land, the people. And we thought, I do think that there's a way for us to bring people here and make it a little bit more comfortable than like what we did, but still some trying to make it as accessible as possible for people who could
Mhm.
travel internationally. So we
Mhm.
put that together. A lot of thought went into it, but we were new studio owners. We'd been there and traveled like one time. We met someone from there who helped us like put the retreat together, who his name's Christian, and he is our
Mhm.
guide, and he's still our good friend. And we put this retreat together, and like 16 or 17 like brave souls trusted us to follow us like across the globe, literally, and you were one of those people. So
Yes.
you went on that trip. Can you share what that experience was like for you, like in a nutshell?
Yeah, June of 2019. It was an amazing time. As soon as you guys started talking about the trip, my heart reaction was, I want to be a part of this. I would love to partake of this anyway. But I remember talking to you and Jameson, and you guys helped work it out with me and made it possible. I didn't know everybody on the trip going into it, but of course, as travel does, brings people closer together, and definitely knew everybody more on the way coming out of the trip. It was an adventure trip, so it was not cushy, far removed from local culture and local life. I remember walking the streets of Cusco, shopping in the markets, exchanging currency, seeing beautiful architecture. We have attended some local celebrations, religious celebrations that were incredibly impactful and amazing. I still look through my photos from that time, Kelly, and just relive those amazing experiences. And we stayed at a beautiful healing house, which was a gated community. It was beautiful, safe. Gardens were gorgeous. The food was so good. Yeah, just like so many good memories coming up from this. But it was an adventure in that it was cold, and we had to bring winter clothes. And do you remember the hot water bottles that we had at
In the
night?
bed, I love them, love them, love them, love them.
Yes. Yep. So, and then of course, how can I not mention Machu Picchu? An absolute crowning moment of the whole experience. I'm so glad we did other things leading up to that, because it was just the ultimate culmination of the whole trip, and all those beautiful sights that we got to see along the way.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible being around that much history and architecture and culture. You just get such a great appreciation for everything about those people and how they lived. And our guide, as you mentioned, Christian, was a wonderful addition to the whole experience as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. Thank you for like synthesizing that so beautifully. Did
I could keep going. It's amazing.
and I look at the photos from that first trip too, and I like see you. You're in the kitchen a lot in the photos I have of you, which I love.
Yes. Oh,
And they
yeah.
have a lot of
I
superfoods
remember.
and beautiful things like the quinoa and the maca and like all the varietals of
Yes.
like potatoes and like really, really beautiful.
Yes.
So, the trip's like vegetarian and vegan friendly. And so
So good.
it's
So
so
good.
good. And you don't, even people who weren't like vegan or vegetarian, they didn't feel like they were
Oh,
going
yeah.
out because there were so many superfoods that just grow locally in the Andes in that region. You can see
Yeah.
why like the Inca were so powerful and strong. Like the food that grows
Mhm.
there would make you like that.
Yes. I think there was only me and one other vegan in our group, but everybody loved the food.
Yeah, yeah. I think there was like, yeah, there might have been like a one or two more vegetarians, but then everyone else were meat
Hmm.
eaters. But no one seemed to complain or have any
No.
problems. So,
Yeah.
but how did the experience influence your practice, or maybe just even like personal
Mm.
growth, by traveling
Hmm.
internationally like that? Because I know that it was out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, for sure. Just taking a trip, not alone, but with a group, you don't know everybody. There has to be some trust issue there, and just making arrangements with your work and really prioritizing this as like I'm going to do this amazing investment in myself, which is not something I do routinely. So just making that mental shift was for me a big deal. But I think I just had more appreciation of some things about myself, some resiliency, maybe just getting through little things that arise while you're traveling with people. Little things are bound to come up
Of course.
as they do. And you don't always have that close connection with people when you just see them for an hour or two a day. It's more concentrated, it's more maybe fraught with some emotion sometimes, but that's how life is. You can actually get to know people past that surface level. I love staying in contact with some of the people from that trip still to this day, even if I don't see them, just sharing messages and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And as far as yoga itself, yoga was so different there in
Hmm.
that cold in that cold setting, and I enjoyed it there. And then coming back here, loved coming back to the warm studio as well. So I guess it kind of taught me that yoga wasn't one place, one room kind of thing,
One corner.
one corner.
Although
No,
you like your
yeah, I
corner
mean,
spot, and
right.
more power to
This,
you.
I mean, this was before I had to do stuff on screen, so I hadn't really done yoga in a whole bunch of different places. And so, even though it seems obvious, it just became something you could take anywhere with you,
Yeah, and I
which
think
I
a lot
hadn't.
of times things seem obvious on the surface, but then the lived experience of it is when you embody that like concept,
Mhm.
it's totally different. And you did that in a big way.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I remember just so fondly was you guys did an acro workshop um, at some point during that, and I just remember like that's very close contact, and people that weren't even from our group were participating, and so that was really fun and just kind of challenging.
Yeah, yeah, because we, like, opened it up as, like, a public workshop,
Yes,
and some people from the
yes,
community and even had some people had come from the Sacred Valley up because they heard, like, "Oh, there's these teachers from America doing acro." So, that
exactly.
was so cool, and
Yeah,
that was
it just felt like fun to be a part of something like bringing people together like that.
yeah, that was really, really fun. Cool, awesome.
Yeah,
Uh,
nothing but good memories from 2019
we
from
are
that
doing
experience.
another retreat in Peru, but not
Mm-hmm.
until just this is for the listeners, like, just to put this in your head way out there, we
Mm-hmm.
are going back in 2026. So
Oh,
originally
wow.
we were taking this summer off. We were going to go next summer. Some dates and things didn't really work out. We have a different idea for more of a local retreat next summer. So stay tuned for
Cool.
that.
Okay.
But just for listeners, just to kind of put it in your mind now that we will be going back in 2026 at a beautiful retreat center in the Sacred Valley called Munai Sanko. It's a different place in the Healing House that's actually no longer open
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Sadly,
Mm-hmm.
or just, I don't know, that's how things go. Things evolve and change.
Yeah.
But that is, I'm just kind of plugging that here for anyone that might be
Yeah.
like, oh, my interest is peaked now. So there's that. But a lot has changed since the pandemic, and the Healing House being one of them that
Sure.
shifted and changed. But I just want to segue into talking
Mhm.
about the pandemic because we had to shut down during the pandemic for in person classes. You stayed a member. Why did
Heck
you
yeah.
choose to stay through all of that? And like, how did the classes online and on the
Mhm.
patio and all the ways in which we had to shift and change that time, like, how did that help you? Yeah, why did you choose to
Well,
stay, and why did it help you?
yeah. Well, I guess I have to think about that response because it's never one that ever asked myself. It was never even a question. I didn't consider, oh, I'm going to stop my membership and start it up again when things are good. This studio was such a big part of my life for the last year and a half or so before the pandemic. And so I wanted more than anything for the studio to succeed. And I wanted to have a teeny tiny finger in hopefully keeping that alive and keeping that happening. So, yeah, I mean, you guys started classes either online or in person outside almost immediately, which was just such a lifeline, having been here every day and then suddenly having that all shut down. So I never considered, like, oh, this is going to go away for a while. Like, I just wanted to be a part of hopefully keeping the studio going and keeping your doors open at some point in the
And you
future.
did. You, along with 49 other people, because, and I said this in the very
Hmm.
first podcast episode, and I was like giving the origin story, but there were 50 people who kept their membership through that time, and it's 100% how we are still open today.
I'm so proud, so happy and proud to hear that. And like I said, it was never even a consideration. I
Thank
was
you.
just, yeah, no,
Thank you.
100%. And things were dark. I mean, I wasn't even teaching myself, and I was suddenly unemployed for the first time in my life, basically for a short time. So no, it wasn't going to go anywhere.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
I remember
Um,
you being online at first before we could do in person, which we did on the patio, which was also very interesting.
yes.
But when it was just online, because we immediately went to Zoom classes, I remember
Yep.
you like setting up and your cats and stuff being
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
fireplace.
Yeah, we got to know everybody's home pets during that time. So yeah, so shutdown was in March. You guys put classes out on YouTube, I believe, which I frequented quite a bit, and then maybe around the summer started doing some in person classes. It was hot yoga, but in a different way outside on the patio. I still remember like the schedule from that time, and like you and Jameson would alternate days, and honestly, that was um, not to sound pathetic or anything, but that was some of the very precious in person contact that I had with people at that time. There wasn't a whole lot of that going on. And even if I was outside and sweating or freezing, depending on the season, just to see people and be right outside the building from where we all wanted to be inside practicing, it still felt like we were moving in the right direction. And I appreciate those classes so
It's
much.
so true for you and a lot of people, and it's not pathetic. It's just the truth of like the ugly truth of what
Yeah.
part of what that time was. And there was beauty
Yes.
in it too, of course, but that was that was part of your story and it was part of a lot of people's story. So I'm just
Mhm.
glad that we had the patio area to do that. It's like it wasn't ideal for lots of reasons I don't even want to get into. But you know what? We're a resilient bunch, aren't we?
Absolutely. And it meant enough to keep it going even when it wasn't perfect.
Yeah. And then, we shifted to like back inside the studio, but like with masks and separated. And
Yes.
we went through so
Oh
many.
yeah. We were through it all. I remember a little tape on the floor, like spaced out.
You
Um,
rocked with us, Jasmine. You rocked with us through that all. And
oh, absolutely.
I just like want to thank you so much. And just as much as it, like, maybe as you were saying, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just as like us staying open helped you cope with that time,
It did.
you figuring out, even when you were unemployed, how to like keep paying your membership kept us open and helped us like cope with the fact that we had just opened a studio, had to within, the first couple years, like fire everyone, make it James and I just teach, like
Huge.
all these kinds of
Yes.
things. So there was
Yes.
a lot of intensity and but
Yes.
we did what we had to do and we got through it. So I'm just really happy to be
Mhm.
on the other side with you now.
Oh, same 100%. And I just want to say, like, finding this studio, like, was just such the most valuable, happy time for me. And I was never going to let it go. And I wanted to be able to say later, because I knew that things would change eventually. I wanted to be able to say later, like, yes, this studio went through that and I have been a part of it
Yeah,
nonstop.
and
And
now that is the story you're telling. It's so cool, and
yeah.
you found a way. And I know not everyone could, and that I mean obviously is totally understandable. But the fact that you just like figured it out, I just can't thank you enough. And like you have such a special place in my heart for so many reasons that you're
Mm.
right up there with all of them.
Well,
um,
community and family, this place embodies that for me,
mm, yeah,
very much so. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's definitely a big intention why we're here. So I'm glad that
Yes,
that is
it
what's
comes through.
happening. So let's
Cool.
shift gears and talk about teacher training because
We're
you
going through
recently
that, yes.
completed our 200 yoga teacher training. And can you give
Yeah.
us like a little testimonial about your experience with the training?
Sure. So I was so incredibly fortunate to do the 200-hour teacher training with Kelly, Jameson, and Farron this year, this spring. I believe it was like from January to March. And it's every other weekend, very intense, fitting this into the schedule, but knowing ultimately how worthwhile it's going to be on the other end. So much, I mean, asana practice, Sanskrit pronunciation, learning how to put a yoga class together, learning how to pace a class, breath work, like just so many facets. When you take a class, you don't realize how much. I mean, you realize obviously thought has been put into it, but this really like sort of opened the doors of my mind to what goes beyond and behind the scenes.
Hmm.
In a little way, it demystified it for me, which I guess just makes it more accessible for me as I start to try to teach class myself. To realize like this is possible, even though it's daunting. But yeah, it was eye opening, and the group that I went through the teacher training with was wonderful. You get to learn so much about people. They share a lot. It can be emotional at times. Yeah, it's incredible, and you see a different side of your teachers just going through this like immersive, very intense experience together.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You just summed that up like a boss. You were such a joy to have in the training. You've been a student here for so long. It
Yes.
felt very natural for you to,
Well, you're the one with the vision.
what?
You had the vision because when you came and said, "Do you want to do the yoga teacher training?" I mean, my heart just leaped with joy on one hand, but on the other hand, I'm just thinking, I'm too shy, I'm too inhibited, I can't talk in front of people, these kinds of things. And you saw past that and you still encouraged me to do it. I'm
I
very,
have to
very
tell
grateful.
you and like everyone, I don't like scout. I'm not a recruiter for people to do our trainings.
No,
And of course, I'm like always wanting to invite people in and I want
yeah,
people to come and do our trainings, like of course. But
yeah,
I don't go and like go after class and like book just anyone and be like, you should do our teacher training. But
right.
we'd had plenty of trainings before where you were there and I had that thought like I
Mm,
feel like for her this would but it never felt right to approach you. And then there was just something this one day this year where I was like, I'm going
mm.
to literally corner her with
You
love,
did,
the most
you
loving way.
did. Yeah, you absolutely did, and I love when you give me opportunities and then don't take my first hesitation as my sum total of my reactions, because you know me more than that, and so I am very glad that you gave me the opportunity, and I learned so much, and
Well, and everything we've
yeah,
talked about so far has led us to this point of me feeling comfortable enough to do that because we have traveled together. You have been
Yes,
coming for so long. You have seen us through so many changes. So it's just really like
definitely.
unique and beautiful to develop this kind of relationship. And
Mhm.
yeah,
I'm a slow bloomer. I'm a slow bloomer, Kelly.
you
Some
are.
people start yoga. Some people start yoga and then they go right into teaching. And for me, it's been about 6 years with Tower Yoga and about 2 years before that. So
You're a
I'm a
slow
slow bloomer.
burn, and I love it. I love it. I wouldn't have you any other way. I love you
Mm,
for just who you are.
mm.
And
I,
yeah,
I felt that from day one. That's why I just felt so accepted and appreciated coming here.
you are, babe. And it's come so full circle because I know for you, you were very clear in telling me like this training was going to be about deepening your own practice, that you would potentially share that in organic ways with your ballet students because that made sense, in an environment you were already very comfortable and familiar with, but that you didn't have an intention of teaching. And I know you're the slow burn, and I would have never like tried to force it upon you, but I was like, okay, that's fine. All right.
Yes,
And then you did the training. You did have
yes,
this opportunity for new or new-ish teachers to teach a free class on Saturdays in the Lotus Room in order
right.
to like help teachers develop their voice. And you did your class, slayed, amazing. And
Mhm.
I approached you after and just giving you some praise and some love. And you were like, all
Mhm.
right, well, maybe if like you need a sub. And I was like, all
I
right,
I did
she's in.
say those words.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and now you
yeah,
teach for us. You just got your very own class, not just subbing,
that's right.
and it's
Yes,
so full circle. It's
I know. Now that you put it that way, it really is.
right? So
Yeah.
what does it mean to you, like, both personally and professionally to, like, be
Hmm.
teaching and have a class on the schedule at Tower Yoga?
Yeah, I think just being so new on the teacher end of things, I still very much feel like I'm 95% the student and just a little bit of the teacher. But just like when people come into the studio for the first time or they're newish, like I can still relate to that. I still know what it's like to walk into that new setting and just maybe feel a little lost or something. And that's still in the back of my mind when I teach the classes too, especially when I can see on the screen, like, this is somebody's third class. Like, so thinking about accessibility. I'm really trying to keep that in my mind and how to accommodate everybody to have a good practice. Um, and the teacher training did make that more awareness for me as well. And I do love at Tower Yoga that this is a studio for everybody. You know, a lot of places say that, but this truly is a studio for everybody. And and you see it play out. I see it play out in the classes that I come to. You know, there are modifications. There is body neutral language. Like all of that is very important, and that welcomes people in.
Yeah, 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 it does. It's definitely on our
Mhm.
minds and hearts, for
Yeah,
sure.
it comes through, and you know, I come from a ballet background, and I have a love in my heart for that as well. But that is a whole different. Um, that's a whole different approach, and so
Oh,
it's been a learning curve for me. I originally came to yoga really by accident, but I was just trying to find something where I could be more at peace in my physical body, which I've never been at peace with. I'll just share that much. And just to try to find something where I could feel a little bit successful and not um, failure.
mhm.
And just try to find something that I could grow with and encourage me and challenge me at the same time. And so yoga fit all of those for me at the right place in my time, at the right place in my life.
Mm. Divine timing. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
So can I ask you like what your hopes for the future of Tower Yoga
Mm,
are and like your role within that?
well, number one, stay open, please. But yes, things beyond our control. That's actually something I have never thought about really up until you posed that question because every every opportunity that comes my way is always more than I could have ever dreamed or hoped for. It's the opposite of wanting things that never happen with Tower Yoga. It's always like opportunities being given to me, and then I have to find the bravery and the strength to grow towards fulfilling them and taking those opportunities. Just this conversation that we're having is just like your heart's probably just at its normal rate, and mine is like very excited because this is a big deal for me. But as far as my role at Tower Yoga, it's incredibly humbling to be a teacher alongside the teachers that I have looked up to for so long. And I guess I just want to keep growing as a teacher and hopefully getting people know what they're going to get when they come to a practice with me, and maybe establishing like my own brand or familiarity with what I can provide.
Hmm.
And maybe getting just more comfortable with teaching and possibly doing more in the future.
Hmm. Yeah, developing like your voice and
Yes,
style and
exactly.
approach. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and developing like a like symbiosis with like a studentship who vibes with that.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and maybe even who
So,
knows, like here I am. I'm like, "Come on, babe, let's go." I'm like, maybe some immersions or some workshops or
yes,
blending something with ballet even, who knows? There's so many things that
right.
can like happen in the future, but we'll
Yes.
take it one step at a time. I know how you like to roll.
But getting my own class was just amazing. I was so happy to just sub over the summer, do some filling in for people, and that was like already all that I could have imagined happening. And then getting my own class was just like icing. It was just extra. So, like I said, it's the opposite of me ever wanting things and not having them happen.
Yeah.
Everything that Tower Yoga does for me is just like a gift.
I love that. I love that. So what day and time is your regularly scheduled class in case someone wants to come and try a class with you?
Let me plug it. Okay, so Thursdays at the Lotus Room, which is the non-heated location. Beautiful studio. Thursdays at 10 a.m. I do a 60-minute vinyasa class, and I've gotten to do it once so far, and people came. I was really happy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I, again, like I said, I just love how full circle it is. It's really, really beautiful to like be in relationship with you and
Mm,
how much that's like shifted and changed. And I can't wait to see like how we continue to grow together
yes.
here at Tower Yoga and
Yes. I
otherwise.
will do that.
Do you have any other kind of like final thoughts or anything that you would want to share with the listeners?
Mm. Well, if it hasn't come across already, I'm very attached to this place. It has been life changing. It's warm, it's welcoming. Whether you're coming in for your first class or your thousandth class, you're greeted with enthusiasm, and there is such a wonderful class offering. Just thanks in part to ownership and leadership, it really comes through.
Thank you so much. I really want to
Absolutely.
encourage all you listeners out there. Hopefully, a lot of you have already been joining the community and either taking classes or doing some of our community events and these kinds of things. But if you haven't and you just happen to
Mhm.
be listening, come on in. Like, the water's fine. Jasmine
Yes,
can attest to that, as she just said.
100%.
And you never know,
Yes.
you might be teaching for us someday. But yeah, I
Never saw
want
it coming.
yeah, and I want to encourage everyone, all listeners, to please give Jasmine's class a try because she is such a beautiful teacher, and your ballet
Thank you.
instruction does come through in a really beautiful way. And it's just, you are so thoughtful and prepared. And if you want to come and take a class where someone prepared the heck out of it and was also very in the moment and not overly thought out, like still very present, then this is the class for you. And we have a YTT, a 200-hour yoga teacher training. The next one is coming up pretty soon here. So we have an information meeting on August 23rd from 6 to 7 p.m. Hopefully you're listening in real time so you can make that if it's
Mm.
something that you want to do. If you can't make it in person, there's going to be a Zoom link. So we can get that to you. Just reach out to us. And just thank you, Jasmine, once again for sharing your
Oh,
journey and your insights. Thank you to all the listeners for tuning in. And Jasmine and I will be around at the studio. We hope to see you soon.
absolutely.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks again for listening in and joining our yoga community. If it so resonates, please share this episode with a friend. Remember, the inner light of awareness within me honors the inner light of awareness within you. Until next time, stay grounded, stay present, and keep flowing with grace.